Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the Revolution Virtual Media Scrum, live from Gailey's Place in Jacksonville. With us now is Darby Allen, and the first question will be from Joel Torres from Contralona, followed by Sean Radican of PW Torch.
All right, hit me.
Hi, Darby. How are you? So good to meet you. First of all, congratulations on the match that you had tonight on AW Revolution with Sting. What does it mean for you to tag team with Sting, making his return in pro wrestling and, all the stuff that has happened between you guys in AEW?
Means the world to me to be teaming with Sting, because to have any part of his legendary career, especially possibly the tail end, is a huge thing. If I have anything to write that story, it's a complete honor, and we did a lot of work. We busted our asses out there.
Thanks, Darby. Up next is Sean Radican, followed by Gary Cassidy of Inside the Ropes.
Hey, Darby, how are you?
I'm beautiful.
You've gotten a chance to work with Sting and Taz in this program. A great blow-off tonight. What was your experience like working with those two veterans, and what are you going to take away from it going forward?
A lot of it goes into them trusting me and like seeing my vision, and we've been putting this work into about a year now with Team Taz and 6 months with Sting. It's like me and Tony Khan just sticking to the vision, and them trusting my vision, because like I visualized a lot of this match tonight, and them to put it out there and not second guess my directing. It meant a lot to me. So I've got to take a lot of it. They had a lot to say during this whole process.
Thanks, Darby. Up next is Gary Cassidy of Inside the Ropes, followed by Amy Nemedy.
Hi, Darby. How's it going?
It's beautiful, my friend.
Excellent. Congratulations on an incredible match. That was just outstanding to watch. What I want to ask, it seemed like a very close to what you would call a cinematic match. I know you've been involved in the creation of a lot of your vignettes, and you talk about that creative freedom, getting to be Darby Allin in AEW, which you say you wouldn't get to do anywhere else. Just how involved were you in the creation of the match tonight? How much was you? How much was Sting? And what did the creation of it look like?
I would say I was involved in 90% of it. I was doing damn near everything that night. We were, a lot of work put into this, and I was up for weeks helping produce this. So it was a lot. It was a good experience, because my ass dropped out of film school, so this was kind of a test to see my directing skills. So it was fun. I had a good time, and then everybody trusting me, and then Ricky busting his ass too, and making everything. So it was an honor to be a part of this.
Amy Nemedy, the floor is yours.
Hi, Darby. So far, you have had several very unique and different matches in your run as TNT champion. Coming off of the cinematic match with Sting, what are you looking to accomplish when you go up against Scorpio Sky for the TNT championship?
See, that's the biggest thing is I'm the TNT champion, and I want to remember, I want to remind everybody about that. And, even though the TNT championship wasn't on the line tonight, I want to remind everybody why I am the TNT champion in the first place. So Scorpio Sky, that's going to be the first step into showing everybody why I deserve to be champion. Because a lot of people, I see the messages and everybody says, well, Darby's not defending it. Well, no shit, I wasn't defending it because I was stuck with Team Taz and having to work with that, So, there was a lot of work put into that. And I want to remind everybody why I'm TNT champion. And it all starts against Scorpio Sky.
Thanks, Darby. This next question will be our last one for Darby. Scott Fishman of TV Insider, you're up.
Hey, Darby. Question. So it seems like you and Sting have formed quite a bond. I mean, what was it like for you to kind of get to know him these last couple of months and kind of pick his brain?
It was good. like I said earlier, having him come into AEW, having a lot of trust in me, a lot of faith in me meant the world. And for us to have this big match, this big blow-off, it meant everything that he trusted me with his career, because coming in here is no small task, and there was a lot of trust put into it, and it meant the world to me. So I respect the hell out of Sting.
Thanks, Darby. Up next will be Paul White. Thanks for your time, Darby.
Yeah, thank you. Rock and roll. Thank you.
Thank you, Lita. Paul is leaving. I'm good.
Good evening, nice to meet you. I love the blue hair. Where am I sitting?
You are staying right here in front of the computer.
Oh, okay.
Now we have headsets so you can hear the questions and the microphone.
All righty, thank
I
you.
moved the chair a little bit back. I don't know if we need to move it back a little bit.
Well, we'll see. Can we tip the thing up a little bit? Maybe right there. Without getting the lights. All right. Get my big old bucket head in these headphones. Thank you very much.
All right, with us now is Paul White. The first question will be from Jim Barcelone of the Miami Herald, followed by Nick Hausman of Wrestling Inc.
Right?
Hey, Paul, thank you so much.
Hey, Jim, how are you, man?
I'm good, thank you. Here from South Florida. You're one of your homes, I guess, so it's always good to talk to you, sir.
It's good to talk to you, man.
Thank you. Hey, what did you think about not only the show, but also the big announcement? Christian's the big announcement. You were hyping that. AEW's been
Right.
hyping that. What did you think about all that, how it went down? I don't know if you've seen any reaction yet from fans or anything like that. Just your thoughts.
I haven't seen any reactions. I watched this pay-per-view backstage, and I was really, this is the first one that I've had to really sit and study, and this is where I'm working now. I thought it was great storytelling all the way through. I like how the pay-per-view built. I was really impressed with the tag team tournament. I thought they did a great job. The finish at the end where you wound up with, Phoenix Bastard and Jungle Boy. That was a great story. Those are very, very hard matches to have, let alone have a tag team battle royal. I thought there was some great stories in there, and I thought all the tag teams that were involved, everybody came out with a little bit of a shine when they needed to get a shine, which is hard to feature that many guys. I thought they did a great job with that. I was really impressed with the cinematic match, of course, with Sting and Darby, and Brian Cage just looked like a monster tonight. All I kept referencing there was Cage looked like the Incredible Hulk from Avengers, with the shadow and the lighting. He did a great job of establishing himself. And, Darby and Sting, they're just, Darby's actually on my list one day. Hopefully I get to work with him. Me, I've had more turns than NASCAR. So hopefully by then I'll be a heel and it'll be a lot of fun. The main event tonight, incredible. That's one of those kind of matches that there's such a potential for things not coming off the way you want them to, and everything that needed to come off, I thought they did a fantastic job with their story, the fight, the cringing moments, with Mox landing in the barbed wire, and I thought it was really intricate how a lot of things were protected, even with Kenny's finish where Mox kicked the ropes and it blinded Kenny, so the finish was still protected. A lot of those kind of things that are put in a match are things that I look for, and I really enjoyed the effort that those guys put out. Even the referee who, a referee does their job when you don't notice them. But the things that I did pay attention to tonight with the ref did a great job of selling the action that was going on. And I think both of those guys really told that part of the match and that story. They really knocked it out of the park. It was really enjoyable, and you heard the people backstage reacting to it with the different pyro and the barbed wire and being tangled up. And I've had a few of those hardcore matches in the ECW days. I haven't had a barbed wire one, but I've had a thumbtack one. So I think this one definitely beats the thumbtack match for sure.
Thanks, Paul. Up next is Nick Hausman from Wrestling Inc., followed by Bill Pritchard of WrestleZone.
Great. Hey, Nick.
Nick, you need to unmute. There you go.
You're on mute. You're on mute, brother. We can hear you now.
Hi, Paul. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate you taking the time tonight.
Thank you.
This is the first time you've been in a new locker room here in a couple of years.
Right. Yes. Back since I had long hair, right?
Sure. How different is it now for you? What is this experience like? What is the culture? How does this differ from where you were previously at, Paul?
The atmosphere is completely different. I think anytime you start over new somewhere, it's automatically going to be refreshing, but even more so here. The support, the one thing that is different here that I really enjoy is the support and the fight that the talent has over here for respect and recognition in the drive. That's the heart of professional wrestling. And when you're doing entertainment, you want a locker room that it's not guys stepping on each other's toes, cutting each other's throat to get a position. You want a team where everybody is trying to get over and everybody is trying to make the best possible product for the fans. And that kind of environment I thrive on, and I love this environment. I haven't seen a locker room with this kind of positive energy in a long time. So for me to come over, and I've heard the stories from some of the guys, I heard the stories from Jericho about how nice it was here, and I talked to Cody and Billy Gunn and people I've known for a long time. They said, it's different over here, Paul, it's different. And to come over here and actually see that and see that support and see just the attitude in the locker room, it's so invigorating. It's like getting a blood transfusion. I would have to say, like, I feel like I feel like a young kid all over again. I can't wait to get out there and do my job and then lace up my boots and get to perform with these athletes and get to know them.
Thanks, Paul. Up next is Bill Pritchard of WrestleZone, followed by AJ of the AJ Awesome Show.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, Paul. How are you?
Fantastic.
So a lot of people have been talking about the potential for you wrestling, your role on AEW Dark Elevation, but I wanted to know if any part of your decision had to do with some of the, maybe extracurricular activities you could do. Like, I know you did some ambassador work with WWE, and
right.
AEW was close with Culture City, some stuff like that. Like, do you look to continue doing some of that outside of the company? Like,
absolutely. That's one of the things that I was fortunate enough of being with WWE for so long, is I got a chance to build some great community relationships and some great partnerships. And one of the partnerships that's very dear to my heart is Special Olympics. And that's one of the conversations I have with Tony coming over here. I said, look, I know it's going to be a little bit awkward, but I'm still going to be involved with Special Olympics, even though that's kind of a brand that's teamed in wrestling with WWE. And I think everybody involved, WWE, Special Olympics, and AEW, understands my passion and commitment to Special Olympics. So that's not a problem going forward. That's one thing about Tony. Tony understands what I bring to the table. I can only help AEW's product by getting better, by getting involved with community projects, which I care about, and going forward with that. And plus, there's a lot of opportunity for me now that I'm building. In essence, we're building the Paul White brand. So I got a chance to do a lot of positive things with my own brand for things in the future as well. And I've got the freedom to do more movies, to do more television, to do more community-aware things that I've wanted to get involved with, where before a lot of those opportunities were limited because there was so much talent and there were so many people striving for the same things, that now I'm not competing against a lot of people around me. Now I've kind of got this wide open atmosphere, and the positive reinforcement and the encouragement behind it now is just unreal. Like I said, for me, it's very surreal to have come from a very competitive market to now where it's competitive, but it's also very supportive.
The next question is from AJ of the AJ Awesome Show, followed by Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful.
Great. Hi, AJ.
Thank you for talking to us.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
My question is, I know you're a fighter at heart, so who are a few people you would want to face in matches in AEW?
Well, in AEW, there's such a tremendous amount of talent here that I've already kind of scoped out, if you will, and put on my list. One of them is definitely Darby Allin. I love his presence in the ring and his character. I think we're such opposites in size and careers that I would love to work with Darby. Kenny Omega, of course. I would love to team up again with Jericho or Billy Gunn. I would love to work with those guys in the team. There's some big guys here that I would definitely like to work with. Lance Archer probably is at the top of my list right now. Luchasaurus, Brian Cage, Wardlow. These are all big guys that I think if I get a chance to work with them, I could do the best that I could for them by being in the ring and working with them. You can talk to people in the back and all that, but actually getting in the ring and letting guys experience a different pace, a different tempo, and a different kind of action really can help them come into their own. And that's why I'm still doing what I'm doing, because I love helping the talent. Don't get me wrong, I love performing too, but I also love making the business better.
Thanks, Paul. Sean Ross Sapp is up.
Hello?
Hey, Paul. Thanks for taking the time. So how do you first make contact with AEW to make a deal like this work, considering you've been the same place for almost 20 years? And is this the type of thing that you have sort of a farewell conversation with Vince McMahon about? Do you give him the heads up?
Well, no, this is a conversation. Here's the thing. Vince actually called me the day that it was announced that I signed with AEW, wished me a lot of luck, agreed that I'm going to be a fantastic asset to AEW, thanked me for all the years that I worked in WWE. There's no animosity. There's no anger. There's no dirt, so to speak. This just came down to, contract negotiations and opportunities. Let's face it, at over 20 years in WWE, I have done everything that there is to do in WWE. I needed a fresh start. And for me, I think Vince understands that and understands me as a talent, and this was that opportunity for me to do that. But, you follow the rules. You don't, like I couldn't reach out to Tony Khan or AEW while I was still under contract, and I didn't. I came to terms with a mutual dissolution of services when I left WWE. There's no anger in it. I needed the freedom to pursue different opportunities. And when that contract came to an end, that was the thing where I took a big leap of faith and hoped that my reputation in the industry and the work that I've done would earn me a meeting with Tony Khan, and this would be able to talk to him and hope that he would understand that I could be an asset for AEW. And, when my contract expired, which is really great. Actually, I got a chance to drive up to Jacksonville, and Tony and I had a meeting at like 10 o'clock at night in his office, and we talked about wrestling and psychology and what I wanted to do at AEW. And one of the big passions that I've had for a long time is getting into color commentating, and trying to bring my experiences from the ring, like a great Gorilla Monsoon or Jesse Ventura, were able to bring to the commentary to help get the talent in the ring over more and help tell their stories. I was looking forward to that opportunity, and also the opportunity for me to compete with some fresh talent, some people that I haven't had angles with, some people that I can also help to become better, and also a new environment, a new place to work helps reinvigorate yourself. So. Believe me, leaving WWE was a little bit scary because I had so much tenure there and so much experience and had basically already paid every due I needed to pay at WWE to leave that stock and to put a lot of faith in yourself and say, hey, if you're really passionate about this and you really want to do this, then you have to put your big boy pants on and give it a shot. And, I'm very grateful and very thankful that it all worked out. And hopefully the AEW fans will be happy as well.
Thanks, Paul. And that wraps up our time with Paul. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys very much. Thank you.
Up next will be Hangman Adam Page.
Okay. Money man. Hey, what's up? Hello, everybody. Nice to be at home. Should I button another button or? Who cares? Testing. Am I good right here?
Yeah, it looks good right there.
Oh, beautiful.
All right, with us now is Hangman Adam Page. The first question will be from Alex McCarthy of TalkSport. Alex, when you're ready.
Adam, man, congratulations on a great match tonight and a very fun angle that you've been having with Matt Hardy, Dark Order. It was really entertaining stuff. I just want to get your thoughts on working with Matt Hardy, basically, you know, a legend of the industry like that coming over to AEW. This feels like a real home run that you two had together.
Yeah, you know, and I guess it kind of came out of left field for me. But yeah, I mean, I've known Matt obviously since I was a kid watching wrestling on TV. You know, he was, him and Jeff were legitimately my favorites. You know, being from North Carolina, you know, their dad was a tobacco farmer. I remember reading their book and it just felt so much like my life. And, you know, I got to meet him years and years ago. He's obviously a different person now, or maybe more willing to show it. But to get to have this pay-per-view match with him and see that he can, you know, for as long as he's been in the game, still go just as hard as anybody else. Felt good, yeah.
Thanks. Up next is Stephanie Francombe of Steelchair, followed by Stu Merrick of KTXX-FM.
Ooh, a lot of letters.
Stephanie, you're muted.
You got
Hi, Adam.
Oh, hello.
Good morning. Good morning, Adam. For me, it's good morning, but well. I just wanted to have, you had a fantastic match against Matt Hardy, absolutely. No doubt about it. But as we all noticed, there's new kids on the block with Ethan Page, for example, totally unrelated, as we know, and also the arrival of the Big Show and Christian Cage. What do you expect? Do you expect working with them in the future?
Yeah, you know, Paul and Christian obviously, you know, bring years and years and decades of, you know, tenure here. So I think there's a lot that they can teach guys around here. So, I mean, I think that's great. Ethan Page is a piece of shit for having my last name. I'm just kidding. We're cousins. We meet at Dallas's for family reunion. So it should be good. Excited to see what he brings to the table. He's in great shape, too. He got in tremendous shape. Incredible. So hats off to him, I guess.
Next up is Stu Merrick of KTXX-FM, followed by Scott Fishman of TV Insider.
Stu, you're muted.
You're muted, Stu. You're just like the real Stu.
Adam, congratulations. Big win tonight. Good evening.
Thank you. God bless you.
It's been, you've shown a lot of chemistry with Dark Order through being the Elite and on Dynamite and on Dark. How much fun are you having, you know, working with those guys, coming up with different ideas for, you know, to carry this story on?
I'm having the most fun I've had in a long time, honestly. Long time. It feels very new and very different, but yet very familiar in some ways. But I'm having a great time. All those guys have so many great ideas and stuff, man, and it's just so good to get to work with those guys. I think they're people who, you know, I think were maybe undervalued, underappreciated a lot you know, from the offset here in AEW and even before. But they used, you know, just like me, they used every bit of creativity and passion and determination and wit to, you know, find themselves a channel to kind of get, you know, their personalities out there. And, you know, that hard work has paid off a lot. And I'm having a really good time working with those guys.
All right, the next question is from Scott Fishman of TV Insider, and then John Powell will be after him.
So after Brody Lee passed away, you know, it's a huge hit in the locker room. I'm just curious, just talk about just the experience of getting through something like that. Do you feel like you guys are closer, you know, you have this close bond? You have to deal with that and everything going on with the pandemic and getting through that. Just talk about kind of how this locker room has really pulled together the last couple of months, especially.
Yeah, you know, it's incredibly difficult knowing, you know, the situation from the get-go, and for weeks and weeks and weeks, hoping for some news, you know, and ultimately losing Brody. I didn't personally know him that well, and I won't claim to, you know, but my heart goes out to, man, just glad everybody else in this locker room who did, and people, you know, elsewhere who obviously spent years and years with him. He was a tremendous person, and you know, the show goes on. We come here on that Wednesday to pay tribute to him. You know, I don't know if he even necessarily had a, you know, what you might would think of as a funeral. I think he had a celebration, and I was tremendously honored to be a part of that, because I don't feel like I deserved it. There's so many more people who deserved to pay tribute to him that just didn't get to, and I did. So I'm eternally grateful for that.
Next up is John Powell, and then our last question will be Izzy of the Hot Tag with Izzy.
Hey, Adam, thanks for taking the time to talk to us tonight.
What's up?
Great match tonight. I'm wondering what you're going to do with all that money from Matt Hardy, and where does the angle go from here, especially with Private Party getting involved?
Oh, well, I'm glad you asked about the money, because that was my winnings tonight. And I recently just got the figures. It's about what I expected. You know, honestly, I'm going to take a little bit of it and pay a little bit on the mortgage. I'm going to take a little bit. I've been in the market for, you know, I don't know if you know, for a new lawnmower for quite a while. I've got a little electric one. I think it's the batteries, honestly, are just going bad, but it's just not enough. So I got my eye on a snapper. I'm going to save a little bit for that. But honestly, you know, coming here to Jacksonville and you go up and down the street and, you know, you see people, you know, camping on the side of the street. And, you know, with the way this year has been, you know, kids out of school, people out of work, man, I don't need the money. Just give it to somebody who needs it. Honestly, I don't need it. I don't think I want it, to be honest. And I think it, you know, give me something else to keep fighting for.
Thanks, Adam. Up next is Izzy of the Hot Tag with Izzy. Whenever you're ready.
Hey there, can you hear me?
I think so, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. So
good.
first off, congratulations on your huge victory. And with the Dark Order helping you at the end of that match, does it make it official? Will you be joining the Dark Order? Because personally, I kind of want to see that.
No. I think we've come to a mutual understanding, man. I did the group thing with Matt and Nick and Kenny, and you know, it didn't work out well for me, and I just don't want that for myself again. I don't want that for them again. But I don't have to be a member of the Dark Order to have their back, and obviously tonight you saw that I don't have to be a member of the Dark Order for them to have my back, quite literally. So I think maybe this is the way things are supposed to be.
Thanks, Adam. And that wraps our time with Adam. Up next will be Tony Khan, President and CEO of AEW.
God bless you. Thank you, guys. I got to go refill this. See ya.
All right. With us now is Tony Khan, President and CEO of AEW. The first question will be from Chris Mueller of Bleacher Report.
Hey, Chris.
Hi, Tony. Great pay-per-view tonight. I was wondering if you could give us a status update on Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega, their condition after the match, how everything went.
Both guys are great. Honestly, I'm glad neither guy came out with a serious injury because it was a really scary match, and they both really put their health at risk for a huge pay-per-view main event. I think it was awesome. It was a great spectacle, and I think we're all lucky that the bomb going off at the end didn't really hurt anybody, that Kenny's big master plan that he built a dud, which I think who would have thought when he drew up the big plan with crayons that maybe the bomb might not fail to take both guys out. So I thought that for the battle, it really delivered excellent action. Both guys came out okay, which is great because on paper it looked like the kind of match where somebody could get hurt.
Thanks, Tony. Up next is Sean Lalos of CBR, followed by Justin Barrasso of Sports Illustrated.
Congrats on the great pay-per-view again tonight, Tony.
Thanks, man.
Darby Allin earlier talked about, he said he put in about 90% of the work when it came to producing and getting his match done. He's an independent filmmaker and a wrestler. Talk a little bit about what he brings to the product when it comes to producing, directing, and putting together all these incredible promos and vignettes that he puts together for you guys.
I'm really glad you asked. Darby's a really great, gifted young filmmaker, and I'm so glad you used that term to describe him because that's the term I used to describe Darby also. He's a great filmmaker, and working with him on this was a pleasure, and that's accurate. He did do 90%. I mean, Darby really was effectively like co-directing this, and we had a vision for it. This story I've been working on with him going back almost a year now with Taz, and we've had plans for a long time to bring Sting into it and do this match, and it all paid off in a really spectacular way. And everybody put their body into it. I can't say enough about the effort everyone gave, and particularly Sting coming back from such a long layoff. It was awesome. And as a filmmaker, Darby envisioned a great spectacle and organized all these shots. And every time we called cut, he was right there making sure we did it right. And there were times where it involved him doing something insane to do it a second time, and he was that willing to do it because he's so passionate about it. He's very, very gifted filmmaker indeed. And he's also a great wrestler and really, really, really important person to this company.
Thanks, Tony. The next question will be Justin Barrasso from Sports Illustrated, followed by Stephanie Chase of Digital Spy.
Hey, Justin.
Justin, you're muted.
Okay, thank you. Tony, I'll figure that out eventually. Two questions. First, is there a way to turn around that explosion? I'm not saying this is how you do it, but maybe by explaining Kingston's friends are backstage.
I think no, we already. I mean, we're posting now what's going on with the explosion on social media. Have you seen, Justin, the promo that John did at the live event that some of the live fans have posted, but then we're posting it now. It's uploading from like the TV copy. I don't know if you saw what John said after the event.
I didn't. I haven't yet.
Okay. Then, all right. So to quote John, or at least paraphrase, if not word for word, Kenny Omega might be a bad son of a bitch, but he can't build an exploding ring worth of shit. Kenny, the plans for this we saw in Crayon, and all through the match we saw, it looked very cool, and it's a very deadly, painful match. But at the end, I mean, I don't know what people really want. Unless you wanted us to actually explode the guys at the end, there's only so much you can do. So without actually blowing the ring and both guys up, I think the basic explanation is that Kenny's ring set to explode. His plan, as a heel who built this thing with a hammer and nails, as we saw, that the final bomb just didn't go off.
Thank you for touching on that. My second question is always an unknown, Tony, when you put the title on someone. But can you touch on how Shida has exceeded expectations as champion? I thought she was sensational tonight.
She was excellent in that match, and she's had a great history with Mizunami, going back to the beginning of AEW, going back almost 2 years to the very first AEW event, Double or Nothing. And they had an excellent match. Mizunami had several great performances through the Eliminator tournament.
And Sheeta's been a great champion for us through the pandemic. She's had so many great matches, great main events on Dynamite, and great pay-per-view matches. I think Sheeta's a great champion and has been one of our most consistent wrestlers over the past year.
Thanks, Tony. Up next is Stephanie Chase of Digital Spy, followed by Connor Casey of Comic Book.
Hi, Tony. How are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm great, thanks, Tony. Congrats on a great show. Congrats also on Fulham winning today against Liverpool. So big day for you.
Yeah. It's only the second time in 146 years, I believe. Since 1870. I mean, so it's a long history at Fulham, and I think it's only the second time we've won at Liverpool. So it's pretty great.
Yeah, oh, great. I was wondering about the barbed wire death match. If you could tell us a bit about the construction of it, and obviously you took a lot of influence from Onita, especially his match with Funk, but what tweaks, if any, did you make to make this match to showcase it on as big a stage as AEW, because we haven't seen it done in that kind of mainstream way before? And a quick second question, it was great to see Maki Ito in the buy-in. How much more can we expect to see of her in AEW?
Maki Ito is tremendous. I hope to see her here often, and we'll definitely see her Wednesday night live on Dynamite in this 6-woman tag. She'll be teaming with Britt Baker. Reba Rebel, Britt's assistant, is slated for the match, but already I'm hearing that she's trying to get out of the match, so it'll be interesting to see if she's able to participate, but we've got a great opponents lined up for them with Thunder Rosa, Shida, and Mizunami. So Maki Ito is going to be involved in AEW this week on Dynamite. I'm very excited for that. And then that is your question about Maki Ito. And what was your first question?
Yeah.
That was your second question, right?
That was my second question, yeah. So my first one was just about like tweaking the construction of how a barbed wire death match looks for the stage as big as AEW's.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Onita Funk match, everybody would watch that. And I think several barbed wire matches to get a feel for it. And we did a lot of tests and, safety precautions with the fire marshal. And I think the story kind of gave us an out for the ring, not completely exploding and killing both guys, because again, it was Kenny's construction, this thing he built to be the Moxley extermination chamber. And you saw him kind of build it crudely with a hammer, and it looked like a great plan. And to be fair, it worked all through the match. And Kenny's such a great wrestler. He survived it, and he got to the finish, and he was in trouble. The Good Brothers came out to help him. So there was a story there. The construction of it was such that, we're using barbed wire and had to take a lot of precautions and treat it with great care. And we had to do a lot of rehearsals of the explosions. But again, there's only so much you can really do with explosions without really hurting people. So I think that's why it was good to give us an out with a story when we didn't actually explode the ring, that maybe Kenny's craftsmanship as a bomb builder is not his forte. Maybe he should stick to wrestling.
Thanks, Tony. Up next is Connor Casey of Comic Book, followed by John Alba of Spectrum Sports.
Hey, Tony, can you hear me?
Yeah, hey.
Hey, how's it going? Tonight we saw the arrival of Christian Cage. I know that was a big shock for a lot of people, especially considering where the last time we saw him pretty recently. What were the conversations like between you two, and how did this whole thing come about, bringing him in?
He's been a friend of mine for a long time. I met Christian Cage 7 years ago, and he's a great person. And I've always really liked him as a person, but long before that, I've been a huge, huge fan of him as a wrestler. I think he's one of the great wrestlers of the last couple decades. He's had great matches in different companies. He's been a great singles wrestler, a great tag champion. And I think he adds a lot here. He's one of the best minds in wrestling, and he's in great physical condition. And we saw him very recently compete on pay-per-view, and there was a lot of interest in it. It generated a lot of interest, and he was interested in wrestling on a regular basis. And, he gave me a call and said, I'd really like to come wrestle in AEW for you. And I said, I'd really like to have you come wrestle in AEW for me. That sounds awesome. And it all came together great. And I think it's going to be really good.
The next question is from John Alba of Spectrum Sports, followed by Dave Meltzer of Wrestling Observer.
Tony, appreciate your time as always.
Sure.
Hope everything's going well on your end. Tonight, you saw a pretty big crowd there at Daly's Place, and it certainly added to the element of the atmosphere of the show. And you guys also announced that Double or Nothing will be in Jacksonville at the end of May. So I want to know, with the extra amount of people that we saw tonight, what is AEW's plan as you try to ride out the end of the pandemic here, hopefully, throughout the rest of 2021 in terms of either getting back on the road or staying in Jacksonville?
I think we're going to take it, every few months at a time. Right now, I can't say it's immediately where we want to rush out and pack arenas indoors, but I think doing outdoor shows, we've had great success. There have been throughout, I think, 7 months now of running, maybe 8 months of running AEW events now with live crowds, outdoors, socially distanced, fans wearing masks. There have been 0 known transmissions. AEW and the Jaguars here in Jacksonville, we've been running these events outdoors at, roughly 20 to 25% capacity since last summer. And we've had 0 transmissions here, outdoor events. And I think there's something to that. I know that doctors have said there's 99% less risk of transmission outdoors than indoors. I personally attended. Now, at AEW and the Jaguars, I'm working, so I'm running around. I don't necessarily sit out in the seats with the spectators ever and get to feel that experience. At the Super Bowl and at the College Football National Championship game with Alabama versus Ohio State, I did sit out in the crowd at both games in a pod and get to experience that. And I felt like it was a very safe experience. There was nobody anywhere near my pod, just like here tonight for the fans, other than myself and my group. And it was outdoors. And I thought what I felt is good right now with everything going on about being inside in the same environment, probably not. I think this is very safe. And again, with 0 known transmissions in thousands and thousands of ticket holders across now, I guess, literally dozens of shows that we've done, I think that we should really look at that as, hey, this is working. And what I'd like to do is slowly increase capacity, but not put the pods too close together yet. And as we learn more and more about the spread of the virus, then we can kind of go and make a plan for touring. But right now for Double or Nothing, I just think it was maybe too soon to plan to pack an arena.
Thanks, Tony. The next question is Dave Meltzer of Wrestling Observer, followed by Samantha Shipman of Daily DDT.
Great. And by the way, I'll stay and take questions. I'm in no rush to get out of here. So I really I appreciate everyone ordering the pay-per-view and supporting us. Thanks. Hey, Dave.
Dave, you're muted.
Did that work?
There
Hey,
you
yeah,
go.
we got you, Dave.
Okay, cool. I guess first thing is, do you kind of have a time frame for the Young Bucks against Pac and Ray Phoenix?
I think both teams are pretty beat up after the matches tonight. I know that we're gonna get Matt Jackson versus Phoenix, which is going to be amazing. I mean, we saw Nick Jackson versus Phoenix is one of the best matches we've ever had on Dynamite, and I think one of the best matches ever on American television. And I'm statistically, I think the fans and you have agreed with that. So I'm really excited for Matt versus Phoenix, and then we'll see where those guys are when we come out of it. But it'll be in the next several weeks. It'll definitely be well before Double or Nothing, and we'll know who the tag team champions are going to be as we are on the road to Double or Nothing now. But I'm really excited for the match, and I'm very excited for Matt Jackson versus Phoenix on Wednesday night. Is that the only question, Dave, or do you have something else?
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, no, I was just muted for a second, but yeah, I mean, as far as the signing of Christian and everything, I know that you kind of brought this up and everything. So was this something that just really come up in the last couple of weeks, or is this something that had come up for further back?
No, it came up in the last few weeks. Paul and I had been talking and trying to put together a deal. And as I looked to launch Elevation, that took a little bit more time to come together as we're putting that deal together. And that one I kept a secret a little bit longer. This came together pretty quickly. Christian Cage had just recently returned to the ring and looked incredibly impressive. And I was not aware that he did not have a contract and was going to be interested in wrestling for us. He's a friend of mine, and I didn't know he would be coming here. I really never in a million years would have imagined it. And honestly, I was kicking myself that he wasn't here when I saw him come back he got a great reaction, and you know, I can't say it enough. I just have so much respect for him, and all the wrestlers here do. This locker room has so much respect for Christian Cage as one of the great minds and one of the great wrestlers. So many people here consider him one of their heroes. And, you know, it's great that the younger generation is going to get a chance to wrestle with somebody who's known for being one of the best minds, not a selfish person at all, who's looking to share their knowledge with all these young wrestlers, because we have so many great young wrestlers in their 20s. And we're expanding our programming this year, doing more shows with the Dark extension now and Elevation launching, you know, a week from tomorrow, you know, the 15th on YouTube, but also launching another hour on TNT. So we're expanding the roster and having someone awesome, a great headliner like Christian Cage is amazing. And also, again, so many of our main eventers, there's some of them he has great history with, and there's so many main eventers on this card that he can have great dream matches with that people never thought they were going to see. And, you know, I know there's great interest in him because there was great interest in him very recently, just in the last several weeks. So definitely got a chance to gauge the interest in him.
Thanks, Tony. The next question is from Samantha Shipman, followed by AJ of the AJ Awesome Show.
Oh, good. That's great. I'm glad we're getting AJ in. Hey, Samantha.
Hi, Tony. How are you?
Very well. Thank you.
Good. I have two questions, actually. The first question is, after all the hard work we've seen from Red Velvet and some of the things that she's done, when can we expect her to be officially All Elite? Or what else does she have to do to prove that she's All Elite?
It's very little to do. It was coming. It's coming.
Okay. And then my second question is, with everything that
She's
we've
tremendous.
seen...
I can't say enough great things about Red Velvet, by the way. Thanks for bringing it up.
Oh, no problem.
Red Velvet is, as I talk about the extension of Dark, one thing I'm really proud of is there's been so many great young wrestlers that have gotten to do more and more and develop themselves. And we've seen a lot of people who started on Dark that have made their way onto Dynamite, made their way into their pay-per-views. And Red Velvet, you know, this past week on Dynamite was in one of the biggest matches we've had on Dynamite, teaming with Cody against Shaq and Jade. She's been awesome for us this year. And Red Velvet, Will Hobbs, both members of the Acclaimed, Max Caster and Anthony Bowens, Lee Johnson, so many others who've come up through this pandemic and, you know, working on Dark and made a name for themselves and become really important parts of AEW. So I think it's really cool.
Definitely. Dark has been, you know, a great place to see some really good talent. And I personally would hope to see some more JD Drake.
Yeah, JD Drake's great. Again, we bring in these great wrestlers, and I had a feeling people would react really well to JD Drake. And as soon as JD Drake got here, there was a line out the door to work with him. And I think that's a really good sign. And he's had great matches with Eddie Kingston and Chuck Taylor. So I really like JD Drake. He's doing a great job.
Yes, definitely. So my other question for you is that we've had 2 weeks in a row where the women have had the most watched match. Impact is having women main event. Shida has done everything just about in her title reign except main event. So when do we get to see the women main event?
I'm so glad you asked. Very soon. Very soon. It's going to happen. What if I told you it was going to happen incredibly soon, like in the next several weeks? I have a feeling that might happen.
I would be very, very pleased to hear that.
That's awesome. Well, I think there's a good chance.
Great.
Thanks for asking. Good timing. I'm glad we got to talk about that. Hey, AJ.
Hello, Tony.
Hey, what's up?
Congratulations on a great show.
I'm glad you liked it. Thanks, man.
My question is, now that you've had an exploding barbed wire match, is there any pressure to try to top it in the future, and how would you top it?
Well, it's going to be, I mean, it's a very physically taxing match. I'm glad we didn't actually have to blow the guys up at the end, and that Kenny's master plan to exterminate Moxley, thankfully, he didn't finish it. And I think it would be a very tough match to top. I don't like beating the guys up and taking so much out of the guys. Like, I'm a wrestling purist at heart, but doing crazy stuff like this on pay-per-view sometimes is it's cool, it's fun, and it's different. And I think it'll be difficult to come up with something that would beat the guys up this much, but I think we were coming up on Double or Nothing and then got some great matches planned for Dynamite and some really fun stuff. And that's kind of the fun thing about wrestling, is watching the best wrestlers try to come up with new ways to beat the hell out of each other and do crazy, awesome things. And I think that's one of the great things about the art form of wrestling, is it's always finding ways to top itself. So I'm not sure yet how the guys will find a new crazy way to beat each other up, AJ, but I know that they will. And we'll do it safe. Thank you for asking. Is there anything else you want to ask while you're up, AJ?
No.
Okay. Well, it was nice catching up with you. Thank you, AJ.
The next question will be from Sean Radican of PW Torch, followed by Jim Barcelone of the Miami Herald.
Good. Hey, Sean, I'm glad I saw you liked Scorpio Sky winning that match. I'm glad you liked that. I hope you liked the show.
Oh, Tony, like, I feel like you've watched a lot of the same stuff I've watched for years and years. So it's great to see some of these guys pay off their journeys.
Yeah,
it's so cool. I wanted to ask you about two questions. Ethan Page first. Here's a guy who's kind of a slow rise up the indies, but he's always had the talent on the microphone, and you see, his leveraging social media and YouTube, and going to Impact, and now he's under your belt. What are you looking forward to doing, most with him? Because I feel like Christian is an awesome signing, but I think like Ethan Page is something that long-term people will talk about.
That's right. I mean, Ethan Page will be here a very long time. I think Christian Cage is a great signing, but they're both great signings. And Ethan Page is definitely something we've had up our sleeves for a while. And I've been really looking forward to him getting that work visa, being over here for Revolution. We plan to feature him. I'll tell you the truth from a booking standpoint, guys. It's been challenging this year, and I'm glad we got to this point. We were a little bit thin on heels based on the circumstances where the Dark Order, you saw 7 heels turn babyface overnight, and that's a big chunk of that part of the roster. And so I was looking forward to getting some more depth on that side, and you'll see Ethan Page come in here. He's a great promo, and I think on the heel side, we'll see he's going to be a big help to us here, and he's going to make a big splash. And so I was really excited to get Ethan Page in. I think he's a great wrestler and a great promo, and he's going to be a great addition for us for the long term.
Thanks, Tony. Up next is Jim Barcelone, followed by Amy Nebany of WrestleJoy.
Oh, thank you for doing these, Tony. Just 2 quick ones for you. I'm wondering first about Big Swole, an AEW Saturday Night Dark special that you had. She wants to be in that title hunt. Just what are your thoughts of where she is now and what we could see from her with AEW?
Well, she would have been a good contender in it. She was honest, I think, in there. She's had some flare-ups. She's a great wrestler. She's got a great personality. I think in the ring she's gotten better, and she can continue to get better. And she's had risen up. She had a great record, and in 2020 had risen up and reached the top contender at one point. She got a title shot, and she didn't beat Shida, but she had a great match, and she's had a lot of great matches. And I really like Swole. In 2021, she has not really been active because she's been sick, and she's had Crohn's disease keeping her out. So she has not been ranked, because as you know, we reset the rankings every year consistently for everybody. And, they're based as we get deeper and deeper into 2021 each year, as the weeks and months pass, the ranking becomes completely dependent on your record in that calendar year. And we're at that point now. So she hasn't really wrestled a lot in 2021. So for the Eliminator tournament, she was actually out when we started the Eliminator tournament with her flare-up of her Crohn's. So I think as she's getting healthy and hopefully we can consistently get her available and have her in action on a regular basis. And when she's a great asset to us.
And then lastly, with Sting, I think, Tony, these cinematic type matches are really cool. And I also think it really works well with the legends. Is that something moving forward if you have older talent? And no disrespect to the older legends, but to do it in a cinematic type of way?
This was a perfect match for Sting. And I had planned to do this cinematic match for several months, dating back to when Steve and I first started talking about Sting debuting in AEW, late 2020. And when I told Darby about this, he and I began kind of planning it out, and I gave him the basics of it and the finish and some key stuff. But like he said, I mean, he really did the heavy lifting on planning the shots and storyboarding this thing. He's a great visionary, and that's what I always say, like, the great connections in wrestling, like when you really see the great creative partnerships, when there's somebody like that, a great star who has like a visionary and has a plan. And what I can do as a booker and a promoter and a TV producer is not only give him the resources, but like share a vision with him. And it's like I always say it, like there's not a person alive that I have less in common with than Darby in real life. But I know when he's got something that's cool, and he's often got really cool ideas, and I really like collaborating with him. And so it's just a really great pleasure to watch him work, and I've enjoyed working with him on this.
The next question is from...
I just said, be remiss if I didn't say that. I just thought Sting did so great. And I don't know if I've mentioned it enough, but Sting, sorry to cut you off here. I just think Sting was so awesome in this match, and he's got a lot in the tank. And as you've seen in the segments we've done in Daly's Place in the ring for the live crowd, he has got something in him. And I think the cinematic matches in the right circumstances can be great to protect the legends, but that's not to say Sting couldn't have a great match and might not. You might see that. So I think the cinematic matches, we'll see Sting in those probably, but I wouldn't rule out seeing Sting wrestle again, because I think he's shown he's very capable of that. And I'm really proud of how hard he worked, and he deserves great accolades for what he did. And Team Taz really did a lot through this program to keep this thing hot, and they worked really hard in this match too, Brian and Ricky and everybody.
Next up is Amy Nemedy of WrestleJoy, and
Hi,
then
Andy.
Joe Stazuski of the New York Post.
Amy, you're muted.
Hi,
Is it
Tony.
Amy?
Thank you so much. It's Amy. Hi.
Oh, hey, Amy. Sorry. I didn't know if it was
Thank you so much for taking all of our questions so late after the show. So last year's Revolution obviously won awards for the best show in wrestling all year. You had mentioned it was your favorite wrestling show of the year, one of them. How did this year's Revolution stack up to last year's Revolution in your mind as a fan and as a booker, obviously, of your own show, with the variety that you had in this year's Revolution and how the storytelling played out?
It was a great show. It's different circumstances, the pre-pandemic shows versus the post-pandemic shows, but in the environment, I thought this was an excellent show. I can't wait to get back to when we're packing arenas, but I thought the support of the 1,300 fans we had here in Daly's Place for the live crowd was tremendous. And it's not quite what we had last year at Revolution in terms of the packed arena. It's a different environment, and that added a lot. But I thought it was a great crowd tonight, and they made for a great show. And I'm excited at Double or Nothing. Hopefully, as things get better, we'll be able to up the capacity in here for an outdoor show and, get closer and closer to what that crowd provides. But the wrestlers were tremendous. We had some great matches, saw some really cool stuff, and it's, been a great pay-per-view for us that sets the bar high for the rest of 2021 for sure.
Thanks, Tony. And now for the last question, as per custom, we've spun the wheel, and Joe Staduski of the New York Post is up. Joe, the floor is yours.
I get to finish this. I know, Tony, you explained obviously why the end of Moxley Omega went the way it was, but is there any concern for the people who just turned off the pay-per-view, maybe didn't see the social media, maybe thinking that moment was the way maybe it wasn't supposed to go that way, or it under-delivered for them in that moment because they may not get the storytelling in it or see the addition to what came after the pay-per-view?
So that makes sense. I mean, I think most of the people, I'd say like the vast majority of people who order the pay-per-views do watch Dynamite. So, we'll address that for sure, because we definitely addressed the construction of the chamber. You saw Kenny building it kind of crudely with a hammer and nails and stuff. And then when he released the rules, he did it with crayon, and it looked really cool, and it looked like a great idea. But, in the end, his plan as far as the wrestling aspect of it worked. He's a great tactician in terms of wrestling when it came to hanging with Moxley. And really, at the end, it really came down to having the Good Brothers come in and help him win the match. But when it comes to building exploding rings, that is definitely not his forte. And the crayon drawings and the hammering, like Garth in Wayne's World with a hammer on the hand. I don't know if anybody gets that reference. Does anybody get that reference? Garth and Waynesville. All that construction stuff, clearly the final explosion was not enough to take out Moxley and Kingston, which is good because we need Moxley and Kingston in one piece. And if the ring had exploded them, we would be in real trouble. So I'm glad it didn't blow them up completely. So it gave us kind of an out there with Kenny being in charge of the construction, since we couldn't actually blow the guys up for real.
And then my last one is adding Paul and Christian and Sting and some of these other, when you're launching new programming, how important are those guys to potentially getting new eyes just from the sheer name recognition on some of those programs, whether they're wrestling or commentating?
Well, I know that we've gotten, right now we've had the preliminary streaming numbers are record high. I think this could be one of our highest bought shows, if not the highest bought show we've ever had. It's definitely going to do very, very well. And I have to thank the audience for that. And, so I hats off to our audience once again. The early returns are that this was, a big success. Well, so is that pretty much, is there something else you wanted to ask me, Jim?
No, I just think obviously Paul's going to be part of a new show, and you obviously you can put.
I think that they're, the combination of Sting's arrival and his comeback match and all the great matches on this card, and then the star power coming in with Paul and the arrival of a new star, plus debut in the ladder match with Ethan Page. I mean, familiar faces. I said we're going to come in and some new faces. And I think that's true, and that's going to be consistent the rest of the year. I would be remiss if I didn't leave the scrum without promising everyone this, which is that in this year, 2021, I guarantee you I am going to have some aces up my sleeve this year. You are going to see some cool stuff. You are going to see stuff you did not expect to see. This is the beginning. And I really appreciate everybody who tuned into the show tonight, everyone that streamed it and ordered it on pay-per-view and was here live. I promise it's going to be a great year for AEW. I can't wait until we get more and more fans in the arena. I'm glad we got out of the show tonight without any really serious bad injuries because, there's a lot of scary matches on this show. And everybody did a great job in the ring. And, I'm just really appreciate that. The fans live were great. And, again, I'm just really grateful we had a record pay-per-view audience. And so it was a great night for us.
Thanks, Tony.
And those guys, Jim, so I think they had a lot to do with it. And I think as we develop more programming, sorry, I hope that describes it. But as we launch, a new extension of the Dark brand with Elevation, and later this year we're launching another new show on TNT. So absolutely having some fan favorites and familiar faces to all wrestling fans is important. These are all guys that are going to be important to us. Sting and Christian Cage in the ring, and Paul White at first as a host, but also I do expect he will return to the ring for us as well. And then we have this great roster of stars that are on top of their game right now, great stars, and also all these young wrestlers that are on the verge of breaking through. And really, even behind them, guys that are on the verge of being on the verge of breaking through, which is pretty awesome. So I think everyone can see the depth here, and it's a great time for us to expand our programming. And so having more star power is a very good thing, and it's not going to stop. Christian Cage is a huge addition. Paul White was a huge addition. Sting was a huge addition. Just like early in the year, we made huge additions. We added Matt Hardy. We added Mr. Brody Lee and Brian Cage in the first half of last year, and I think we'll add big names in the first half of this year, and then you'll see a lot of crazy stuff throughout the year, I promise. Thank you to everybody who supports us. Thank you to everyone who's been loyal to us. I really appreciate it, and I promise we will keep working hard for you. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. And thank you all so much for joining us tonight. This session will be available tomorrow on AEW's YouTube channel. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we look forward to seeing you at the next one. Thanks again, and have a great night.